What's going on, everybody? We are going to be getting started here in just a few minutes. Wanted to fire this up. This is going to be an Ask Me Anything. I want to share some key takeaways and learnings from our transition over the last handful of years from a done-for-you agency into getting paid to think, which to me is being able to package up your expertise and creating high-ticket consulting programs, coaching, training, workshops, etc., and how you can use that as a secondary, tertiary revenue stream inside of your agency, and maybe even transition to that full-time if that's what you want to do. We're going to be jumping in. We'll be whiteboarding on the iPad and all the fun stuff. So hope you guys are pumped. As we get this countdown coming, please drop any questions that you have in the comments section with questions. Because again, this isn't Ask Me Anything. So we really need you guys to be asking some questions for this to be interactive. So if you're joining me live, that is awesome. Really appreciate you being a part of this channel. Hope you've been finding value in all of the other content we've been creating here. But leave a comment. Tell me where you're at in the world. I would love to know. And we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Ed, how you doing, Ed? Can always count on you. This is honestly, guys, also for those of you that are jumping in here, this is my first time doing, I think my first time doing a live on YouTube. So this is all new to me. So bear with me. This is honestly, guys, also for those of you. I am using Ecamm Live. Hello, Fort Collins. What's going on? Kyle. Have we met, Kyle? Fort Collins. I live in Denver. I don't know if you knew that. The Sabby BG show. Hey, hey. What is happening? Super cool. Mike's from our team. What's going on? Jason, what's going on, my friend? Hey guys, so we got 2 minutes. I will be hopping on camera. Tons of things are good, Jason. Tons of things. Be hopping on camera here and jamming with you guys. Gonna hang out. I plan to hang out for 30 minutes, maybe an hour if you guys got questions. So I'd love to jam on and brainstorm and answer any questions you guys have, really around the topic of getting paid to think. I'll set some context here in just a few minutes when we kick this thing off. But if you have questions that you want me to get to, please drop them in the comment section right now. And we will jam. What's going on, Chris? Got some clients in the house. I love it. I love it. And guys, a minute left here. I can definitely freestyle on a lot of things, but the purpose of this isn't Ask Me Anything. This could totally backfire, obviously, if you guys don't ask me anything. So if you can drop some questions, that would be super great. Give me some prompts. I will jam on those with you. We'll see how this whole thing goes, right? If you haven't introduced yourself yet, please say what's up in the comment section. There are some of you that have not introduced yourselves. So share who you are, where you're at in the world. Brian, what's going on? Got some clients in the house. That's always good to see. Yes, famous last words. This could totally backfire. But, that's how it goes. Kyle says, my creative experience is a mile wide and an inch deep, I feel. How do I figure out what portion of my experience to use as a service? Great. We will get to that here. All right. Let's see. He literally systemized this. I don't know what that means. All right, guys. So I'm going to take away and go to the countdown timer is all good. And we are jumping in. Hello from Montreal. What's going on, Dan? All right, guys. Welcome. We got only a couple days left in the year. This is something that I want to do more of. Possibly weekly, we'll see. But if you guys show up, you guys ask questions, I'll gladly do more of these. We have recently taken a little bit more time and attention towards building our YouTube channel, and we have thankfully, to many of you, crossed the 5,000 subscriber mark, which is super cool. We have our eyes set on much bigger. What's going on, Dan? And I feel like I consume so much content on YouTube, guys. That's kind of sad to say. But content from business to non-business, I'm really big into mountain biking. I watch a lot of mountain biking videos on YouTube. So I'm here a lot, and I see people interacting with their communities and doing these. So that's really why I wanted to go ahead and do this. So we're going to dive right in. I'm going to scroll up and bring up some of these questions. But if you are just joining us, please say what's up. Also, actually, real quick, guys, real quick. Can you share this? If you're stoked about this, give me a little share. Give me a little share on the socials. Let's see if we can get a few more awesome people here. So before I jump into actually the questions, I want to give a little bit of context. I'll say 2015, I'll start 2015. I launched call it a marketing service. We were doing marketing automation implementation, sales funnels implementation for course creators. That was in September of 2015. We only sold retainers. We scaled that up and hit a lot of bumps in the road. And in February of 2017, I heard Clay Collins from I guess he's still the founder of Lead Pages. He shared something at a conference. I believe it was their first conference, but it might have been Traffic and Conversion. And he shared the fastest way to get to 7 figures is to focus on the 5 1s. And the 5 1s is to focus on one avatar, selling them one solution, using one conversion vehicle, focused on one traffic source, and do that for 1 year. And when I heard that, my mind was like blown, because we were out here offering tons of custom projects and all of these things. And we decided to look at the 80-20 of what we did and start shedding a lot of the things that we didn't enjoy doing or that were time consuming and that usually led to crappy clients. And we focused on the things that we were best at and the things that we enjoyed. And that service evolved over time to the point where we actually were getting asked by other service providers and agencies who are my people, how did you do this? How did you scale this thing? Because we saw what you did, you productized it, then now you're coaching and consulting, like what happened? And so we basically codified everything that we did, and we have 2 things. And since really the end of 2017, we stopped working with clients in a one-on-one done-for-you capacity, and we've only sold 2 things. A 90-day program, which is called Foundations, and a 12-month program, which is called Academy. And we coach and train other service providers, agency owners, on how to productize their service offering so that they can deliver it with more efficiency, more leverage. And to me, when I say productized, I think there's evolutions of productized. There is kind of your traditional, there's actually 6 different kinds of productized services. I did a YouTube video on that a couple weeks ago, so you can check that out. But you have kind of like the unlimited services, which is like a design pickle. You have the productized consulting, which could still be one-on-one, taking each client through a unique process. There's tons of examples of that. You could have, coaching. You could have or high ticket consulting that is more of a group format. So there's a lot of different ways to productize something. And the great thing is that I believe, and why AltAgency exists, because I saw that question come in and I'll kind of revisit that, is I believe that if the only way you make money as an agency owner or a freelancer or a service provider is through selling time and money, or as I call it, hands to keyboard, you are going to have difficulty hitting the goals that you want. It's going to be difficult to have the business not be revolving around you for a lot of reasons that I can go into in this. But that being said, what is the alternative? Well, it's to become an alt agency. And an alt agency is to have multiple revenue streams that aren't tied to just labor. Labor is just one way to make money inside of your business. And the other is coaching, consulting, training, workshops, courses, all these different ways that you can make money that are around your intellectual property, your knowledge, your expertise, your skills that you've learned over the years that you can monetize in ways that allow you to serve multiple people at once without necessarily having the incremental increase of your time and your capacity and your hours. So that's really kind of I wanted to set the context for you guys. And the reason that this is, again, getting paid to think is because I want you to add on a revenue stream that is based off of your intellectual property, your methodology, your process. Thanks for sharing this, guys. I super, super appreciate that. And thanks to all of you that came from and found me through my interview with Chris Do. Chris is a blessing. I love their content. I'm a student of everything he does. And that propelled me into paying more attention to YouTube. And also specifically the creative freelancers and the creative agencies, because this is very applicable to them. And Chris is a perfect example of everything that I'm talking about. They had this crazy high-end, award-winning, done-for-you agency, and now they're selling and teaching. Now, he was always a teacher. He loved to teach, and some of you might like to teach, some of you might not like to teach. And I think there's degrees in which this can work for you, no matter what your situation is. So that being said, we have been on personally, and again, there's a video coming out this Thursday that will talk about this a little bit more, but just like a lot of people, we wanted to hit 7 figures, and we've been on this mission for a little while. Felt like we were for a couple of years. We had multiple months in a row where we were on track, 7-figure run rate, and then something would go wrong, and we didn't hit it. Sometimes pretty far off, actually. And so we had to dial things back. We actually had to go backwards from 2018 to 2019 to be able to propel this year. Despite everything that was going on, we were able to have our first, and I'm proud to say it, but also ready for more, our first 7-figure year, both in generated and cash collected. I make that very specific because I know a lot of people are like, we made 7 figures in revenue, but they actually didn't collect a lot of that because it's not earned yet, right? Like they sell a $20,000 a year program, but they only collect $2,000 of it. Well, I'm talking about we collected over 7 figures. So that was huge for us. I mean, it was a goal that we were trying to hit, and now we've hit it, and I see the potential for more. And it was all because we transitioned into getting paid for our thinking. And that's the context. So I just spent the first 10 or so minutes kind of laying the context. I'm going to kind of roll through your questions. Yes, Robin, thanks, my friend. Thank you. Robin is a former client and likes to have a good time. So again, this is, like I said, thanks, Dan, an AMA. So I'm going to scroll back up because I saw some questions coming through, and I'm going to start rifling through these questions. So keep them coming. if that sounds good. So Kyle says, let's see if I can add this to the screen. Kyle says, my creative experience is a mile wide and an inch deep. How do I figure out what portion of my experience to use as a service? So here's the thing, okay? We get this question a lot, Kyle. Even from the clients that go through our program, that go through a process that helps extract this, they have difficulty choosing. What I would say is not knowing where you're at in business specifically. I don't know where you're at in revenue or what types of services or who. But for my opinion, if you don't enjoy serving the people that you serve and you don't enjoy the service that you're offering, or you only offer it because you know there's money to be made in it, I think you're going to play a losing game. I see a lot of people out there that like serve dentists and chiropractors because that's a money-making market. And maybe that's good for some people, but I think the thing that I resonate with a lot of, like, guys, I come from digital agency background, the creative side, not a designer, but like I've been in love and very jealous of the people that are really good at creative. And I wouldn't be stoked to work with a type of person just because they have the money to pay me. That wouldn't drive me every single day. If that drives you, great. We probably won't, have a long-term relationship. But you have to look at, I think, the experience that you have that is, I'm doing it all of the time, right? The 80-20 rule, if you will. If there's something that you do for every single client, no matter who they are, likely that's something that I would try to make a repeatable packaged process and sell that. For many of you, it might have to start by whittling down. So for us, we focused on Infusionsoft users, which is a small business marketing automation tool that has now been rebranded as Keep. But we literally started as, hey, we'll do anything for anyone using Infusionsoft. And then that started to include onboarding people that were like, hey, I'm using MailChimp. Can you put me on Infusionsoft? And we said, yeah, sure. So there was adding a service onto the menu. And so we were focused on hey, we only work with Infusionsoft users, and then the service menu, so to speak, kept growing, and then it became too much. And so we whittled it down. And so we looked at, of all of the services, what were the 80-20? And that was what we focused on. So we found that a lot of our clients were, like, at that time, influencers, course creators, podcasters, authors, speakers, and they all running live weekly webinars was the thing. John Lee Dumas, a close friend of mine and former client, kind of popularized the do a weekly live webinar. So we had a lot of clients come to us and say, we need a system to churn out a weekly live webinar every single week. And so we built a solution, and we would help them launch these campaigns and follow up and do all the automation. And so we literally took all these services and we said, we're not migrating people to Infusionsoft anymore. We're going to do live webinars and evergreen webinars. And that was the main thing that we started selling. So that would be a potential scenario for you, is what are the things that you're getting asked to do the most, that you enjoy the most, that seem to be in demand, that help people, would be where I started. And Kyle, if you want to comment in more detail below, we can kind of go a little bit deeper. I'll try to do that. I'm notorious for going way too deep and not getting to everybody. And also, guys, if you're in here and you're not already in, real quick, are you in our free Facebook group? If you go to altagency.com/group, that'll bring you over to our Facebook group for agencies that want to become alt agencies. And we're going to be doing a lot more live trainings like this in that group as well. And I could possibly go deeper with you too. Okay, the Savvy BG Show. You run a YouTube channel and also help businesses with YouTube presence and online video strategy. Love it. Let's see. Kyle, real quick in the chat, let me know if I kind of started helping answer that question or if you need me to go a little bit deeper. All right, let's see. What's up, Dan? Salima, hopefully I said your name correctly. Ed says, guys, Edward's an OG, great man. He said, paid to think, as in foot in the door offer, just strategy. Great question. Great question. So it can be. Let's jump to the old iPad. So look, historically, and I won't take credit for this drawing. I believe it was Blair Enns or even David C. Baker on the Future channel. But historically, agencies would, you kind of have this, imagine it as a room. And they basically would sell strategy, or they would give away the strategy to get paid for the execution. And I'm probably going to botch how they actually drew this. So the client comes in, you're in sales conversations, you talk to them, you give away the farm, discovery, etc., and then you sell them on the execution. So like these rooms are separated. Then they, a common thing that ended up happening was, well, hey, like we should, maybe this is, discovery. Maybe this is an audit. I see a lot of people do. But what really we want to kind of do, I believe, is weave them together. So I like to sell, and there's everything that I'm saying, guys, you have to take with a grain of salt, because there is a unique way that will work for you. This is where I think I differ from many, is that we need to design how and what you deliver, not only so that it serves your clients at the highest level, but checks all the boxes for how you want to be involved in the process. Now, depending upon how you want to be involved in the process, that might mean less scalability, but more fun. It might be massive scalability, and you have to grow a little more of a team and things like that. So I don't think that there's a one size fits all. And I do believe that each of you should have multiple ways to make money. But I also believe that you shouldn't be trying to launch all of them at once. And that's something that we see a lot of our clients and potential clients run into. So what I like to do, Ed, is I like to package my strategy to deliver a specific result. So, we have our clients come to us and they have a specific problem. They have a specific problem down here, I'm drawing, and they want to come over here. And I can say, hey, I'm going to take you through multiple steps to get you there. And guess what? In order to do that, I need to give you a little bit of strategy, but we also need to focus on some execution. So I like to weave them together because I think that we live in the world of, actually applying knowledge, and we can give away a lot of strategy. But if we even sold just the thinking, that it's like less likely to get the client the results they're actually looking for. So that means the execution needs to be designed in a way that's really leveraged, and, repeatable is really, really important, which is where we have to start talking about not being able to offer everything and focus on specific outcomes, right? Like this is each and every one of you that work with your clients, you deliver a specific transformation. You bring them to Happy Town over here, right? They want something and they want to achieve that thing. We do have some clients that will sell, for example, that are like brand strategists that will sell sort of like a front end offering that is like a whole brand messaging kit, so to speak. And they have an upsell that can go into, a full rebrand of their website or redesign of the website, or even a ground up website build. They don't just say, hey, you have to get this website, which forces you into this whole brand brand situation. They can sell them separately. So I think some professions it might end up being like that. But Ed, for example, our foundations program, it's 90 days. It's part strategy and part execution. The methodology and our step-by-step process is the thinking, and you're consuming the thinking and the training on how to get there. And then we're able to coach and customize your application of it through the different support vehicles. Hopefully that makes sense. Boom. Let's see. We got Dan from Toronto. Greg, what does AltAgency help with? I hope I just explained this, but high level, guys, for those of you that just joined, we're in the business of helping agencies that are, and when I say agency, I mean a freelancer, a service provider, creative agency, creative service provider, someone that's used to doing custom work, deals with scope creep, and only sells time for money to get paid for their thinking. And that means that they add on a new revenue stream to their existing service. And I'll draw this little example. So like when our clients come to us, Sabby, is your name actually Sabby? I don't know. So hopefully I just wanted to address you specifically. So, when our clients come to us, a lot of them, this is like their revenue, right? And like this is profit, right? And what we found is that most small boutique agency owners, sometimes maybe it's the solo service provider, maybe you got a squad of consultants that you work with all the time. This applies to you. I think that it's actually better for you to add on a revenue stream that allows you to make money, but then like this is profit. Sorry. And so we help people make this switch. We help people make that switch. So when a client comes to us, Sabby, they are looking to extract what's in their head, their methodology, their process, their experience that comes from their years of work, and turn it into a new revenue stream that can be more leveraged. For many of our clients, that ends up being like a 6, 8, 10, or 12 week done with you program. And so that could call it coaching, call it high ticket consulting, whatever fancy label you want to call it, something like that. We have a couple clients that still do it as a done for you, sort of like a turnkey service that's delivered over 30 days. We have a couple clients that have even turned it into like a 2-day in-person workshop. A client, Robin, not the Robin that's on here, she actually works with authors, and she hosted a 2-day workshop on how to get your book published, like traditionally published, not self-published. She comes from the publishing world and the journalism world, and she created a process that you come in and you literally have the blueprint to get your book set up to be approved by a real publisher in 2 days. She charged $5,000 for it, and she'd have people fly into New York City, and she'd teach a handful of them at a time, and she'd do it a couple times a year, and I think even went to a couple times a month, and then she turned it virtual. So we helped her kind of take that process and turn it into the new delivery vehicle where it's more one to many. So again, we help you add that new revenue stream that is more leveraged, profitable, one to many, predictable. And then when you come into Academy, which is our other program, the goal is to help scale the systems and the lead gen, the marketing, the fulfillment around that new offering so that it could either replace and or surpass any revenue that you generate from your done for you services. That is the kind of how we help. If any of you are interested in learning more at any time while we're talking, all you got to do is go to altagency.com/book. It'll let you pick a time that works for you and then answer a couple questions, and you'll chat with one of the advisors on our team, Mike or Larry, and we'll see if we can help you. But that's what we got for you there. Let's keep rocking and rolling. This is fun, guys. Thank you for all of your questions and, again, your support. This is super fun. I want to do this more. I love answering questions and freestyling on this stuff. CJ, taking an inspiration, let me see if I can throw this on the screen. Taking an inspiration from you and Chris's video, I have challenged myself to reaching 100K in my first year. I'm from India, so it's a heck of a lot. Thank you so much. CJ, awesome. I love that. Let me know how we can help. Hopefully all of the content on this channel is a good starting point for you. I literally want to share everything that we're doing so that you can get there on yourself. Sabby, thanks for sharing. Chris, thanks for sharing. Chris Ross, let me get this up on the screen. How would one make the jump to consulting without doing a group coaching program or a course? I have zero interest in doing coaching or a course, but I'm interested in providing strategic consulting. Chris, I'm not sure what you do now, but I think the same thing applies. The figuring out what the problem is that you solve and packaging up that process into a repeatable experience. It can be delivered one-on-one if you want. Chris Bayless, who's watching, who's a client of ours, he came to us. He had a process essentially in his head that he would fly around the country, I believe it was 42 or 46 times a year, and go into a room one-on-one with clients and say the same thing over and over and over and over again. If that's something that you want to do, you can totally do that. But you could also do the same thing and put 5 high-powered execs in a room and do it to 5 people and make a whole lot more money and, save a whole lot more time. So there's definitely you don't have to do a group thing. And how you define consulting versus coaching, it's such a rabbit hole. I think in many cases, even as a consultant, you end up coaching, and even as a coach, you end up consulting. So the client doesn't care what you call it, you do. So call it whatever you want. They care about that result. And so back to my point, if you're going to consult, I think the best way for you to get the dream clients is to say, hey, my ideal client always has this problem, and when they go through my solution, they end up with this result. And I would take that, look at that and dissect that into steps, and that would be a consulting engagement. Hey, when you work with me, we're going to work through my methodology to take you on this journey and get you here in X time. And we do it one-on-one. We do it with a weekly, one-on-one call. You come to my office once a month or once a quarter, whatever you want to make that. Chris, you could totally do that and make sure that the price point is where you want it to be so that it makes it worth it. So the answer to that question, again, if I didn't drill that home, is consult on a specific result or transformation and say, hey, if you want this thing, here's how it works and here's how much it costs. And then you go create content and market that as a consulting package versus, hey, I consult anybody on anything. Hopefully that makes sense. CJ, are you hiring interns? Yes, I would definitely be interested in hiring interns depending upon what you do and what your skill set is. So let me know. We're definitely looking. We're going to be posting a job here probably in the next few weeks for what I'm calling, at least right now, like a marketing assistant or marketing coordinator. So if you got some creative chops, some project management chops, and you want to work closely with me and the team on getting content like this out the door and on the calendar and repurposed and working with a couple different vendors that we use, we would love to chat. So let me know, CJ. Thanks, Jason, for sharing. Dan, I was immediately drawn to your channel after watching your video with Chris Do of the Future. I'm a brand strategist and designer. Dan, thank you so much. We have a handful of clients that are just like you going through this process. So if you're looking for how to take that brand strategy and design process and packaging it up into clear deliverables, actually, Jason is I'd probably put Jason in a little bit of that camp too. Jason Jones, who's here. Jason, feel free to chime in. And you could share his experience. I can share some interviews that I did with Jason as well on his experience, but definitely something that you can do. Dan says, while I'm still part-time, I'm looking to go full on in 2021 by evolving from my local small business to mid and large business. Awesome. Good stuff. Would love to help you get positioned to do so. Salima, how do you decide on what to offer first when starting? What should you add next? Great question. Look, guys, I think a lot of people get way too hung up on this. If you would just know that, thanks, Brian, for chiming in as well. Salima, however you get started is not going to be how you have to keep it or how you're going to finish. This is why, like within 2 to 3 weeks, most of our clients are getting super clear on what their new offering is so that they can go start selling it. And through selling it and delivering it, they start tweaking it. I'm going to botch the quote, but I'm reading this book called Subscribed, and it's all about how our world is turned into the subscription economy. Like every single, software is subscription-based, Netflix, those sorts of things, Disney Plus, all of those things. They're looking to find a way for adding subscription-based revenue. For all the creatives in the room, look at Adobe Creative Suite. This is actually a classic example that they talk about in this book. And one of the big things that came up in this book was the sooner that you can look at, and I'm applying this to service because I think it is the same, the sooner that you can look at your solution, whether that's a product, a done-for-you service, a coaching program, a consulting package, the sooner that you look at that as a living, breathing organism that is going to get better each and every day and iterate to further help your clients, the sooner people would launch. Because it doesn't matter what it is today, because it's going to look a whole lot different even 30 days from now. So let's not get hung up on that. Let's get in the right ballpark with the right skill sets that we have, solving problems that we enjoy solving for clients that we like working with, and get something out the door and have real-time feedback from real paying clients, and use that as an iterative process to refine what the offering is over time. Guys, I mentioned earlier, we have a 90-day program called Foundations. When it was launched, it was originally called Funnels That Scale and was very specific about funnels. Okay, we started working with service providers to help them build a sales funnel. And when they came in, I said, well, what is this funnel going to sell? So they paid us for a funnel, right? So I'm out there, I'm selling a program that helps deliver a funnel. And we'd bring on someone and I'd say, hey, okay, well, what's this funnel going to sell? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, what is your service offering? Like, what do you do? And they're like, well, it depends on the client that we work with. And I went, oh, everything you do is custom. I can't build a funnel for that because it's going to be impossible. And I saw that same narrative over and over and over. You can't build a automated acquisition system that's repeatable and predictable when the thing that you sell is unique every single time. So we created a process to help our client that wanted a funnel to simplify their offering into an outcome. That process has now become what we call the signature service. When I talk about productizing your service, the first 2 to 3 weeks of Foundations, you go through what we call the signature service process. We codified how we helped people package up their service so that they could have a funnel. So when I first launched the thing that we just made $1 million selling this year, it was based on selling a funnel. But I couldn't give them what they wanted without having to take them through this other process. So our solution evolved. And now that solution serves a whole lot more people because we got that question enough times. If I didn't launch and start getting paid for doing the funnel thing, we wouldn't have run into this issue to make our offer include it. Hopefully you're getting what I'm saying here, Salima. It's like, let's get close as close as we can. Let's get some paying clients and iterate as fast as possible. And in foundations, we have a step-by-step process to, I think, do that as quickly and efficiently and confidently as possible. So hopefully that answered the question for everybody. Salima said, would you say coaching is the lowest hanging fruit to start with, or should it be the most expensive since it is trading time for money? So coaching, if you do group coaching the right way, it's not trading time for money. So if you do one-on-one coaching, it's trading time. If you do one-on-one anything, you're trading time for money. If you package up, if you coach on a specific outcome that you can codify, then you can sell that in addition with coaching, if that makes sense, which you see a lot of people doing, but that's where you get a lot of the leverage. I don't need, if I'm gonna take on 10 clients and I'm gonna say the same thing to all 10 of them, like it doesn't benefit me or them to have to do that in a one-on-one session when they can go through that in a easier to consume, digestible way. Now you need a way to codify that, which is what we help people with. So hopefully that makes sense. But when you said, is that the lowest hanging fruit? I want to just share this with you guys. So how many of you guys have heard of the value ladder? Russell Brunson talks about it, and he basically says, I got to do a better drawing here. Who's heard of the value ladder? Okay, so Russell Brunson talks about you got to create the value ladder. You sell, ultimately you have something free down here, then a little bit more expensive, then a little more expensive, and then the most expensive. And you're supposed to like work them up the ladder. Well, here's the deal. That's great. It's a common path when you start out in the info publishing world, right? When you start out selling courses, but not all of you guys started that way. Most of you guys are selling services. So you probably already offer a service. That means you're already at the top of the ladder. Now the problem is, guys, that most of you don't charge enough for that service. So really your service is probably more likely somewhere down here, but it should be up top, if that makes sense. So what we want you to do is elevate the price of your done for you. Okay. And when I say done for you, this could be, your one-on-one stuff, right? This could be your custom stuff. And then I want you to introduce something that is more, call it affordable, that is more leveraged. So this is where we have leveraged. This is more ideally done with you, and ideally one to many. Now this is where, at this level, this is where you have your group coaching, your group consulting, your high ticket courses, your 2-day workshops. You can put executive training in here, any sort of training that would live in there. And then eventually, and if you need, you don't have to do this, you could also have down here, which could be, products, courses, and this is more like DIY stuff. This would be, for those of you that know Chris Do, what I would say, like, he really thrives in this area, right? He has all of his little like $37 to $200 kits. He has something that's a little bit more interactive. It's a little bit more expensive. His like IG carousels. I mean, I still think he could charge a lot more for that. I think it's like $299. But that's one to many, and it's interactive, so there's like opportunity for feedback versus, if you just buy his templates down here for $37, you're not like interacting with Chris to have him review your templates at $37, right? So I believe that an alt agency eventually will have all three of these revenue streams that serve their ideal client. Hopefully that makes sense. And so the logical step then, Salima, is if you've already done this, My next thing is let's take one step down the ladder and let's launch the done with you thing and iron that out. Now, as I alluded to when I said at the beginning, for us, we, in 2020, we got paid and collected over 7 figures, and all we sold were this and this. So to date, we don't have anything in this bucket yet. So it's not necessary. You can do it. There's a lot of ways in which you would want to do it. But I would always step down the ladder, if that makes sense. Hey, real quick, are you guys enjoying this? Is this helpful? We got about, I don't know, like 27, 30 people here. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. All right, let's see. Hey, Greg, how are you? I've been following your work, and I know the concept of the service ladder where we have 3 offers. I love it, and I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. The question is, in a world where we can package our knowledge and workflow into a cheaper course, why would anyone buy our consulting or coaching? Lovely question. Lovely question. Okay. I forget who said this, but let's go back to this value ladder concept, okay? I'm going to clean this up real fast for the sake of this example. You know what? I'll just draw a new one. That's what we'll do. So we talked about this ladder, right? And so your question was, again, why would anyone, if we had tons of stuff down here, why would anyone pay us up here? Okay? Or even here for that matter. Okay? Well, typically as the price goes up, if you design your service and or product or coaching, usually there are people buy for a few different reasons, and there are certain things that you would do to kind of support those. So I'll say, let's look at, I'm kind of going to make this model on the fly here. So I'll write why people buy, and then how you support that purchase. Okay, that's for the lack of a better term. So look, let's choose a different color here. So why people buy, okay? I would say, and again, I wish I could give proper attribution here, but people will pay more for things like speed, access, and status. Okay? Speed, access, and status. I don't know if any of you guys follow Russell Brunson at ClickFunnels. They have this thing called the 2 Comma Club coaching program and the 2 Comma Club award. Where do you think that lives? I see a lot of people flexing their 2 Comma Club awards, right? That, my friends, people want to be in that program because they want the status of saying, I'm in the 2 Comma Club, right? There are people that will join Chris Doe's pro group purely to say, I am in Chris Doe's pro group. So there's a status element. So over time, some of you guys might create an offering that creates some level of status, and people will just naturally want to be in it, okay? But you might not be able to visualize yourself having that yet, but someone might pay more for the coaching because maybe if you gave them the workflow and the templates, right, for, I'm just going to throw out random numbers, $1,000, they might pay you $5,000 to review and have time with you once a week to answer questions. Imagine if they were like this. Like, we do group coaching calls every single week for our clients. We have different calls with different topics where clients bring us stuff to review and critique, right? We get a little bit more hands-on. We jump into their specific scenario. That has value. And for many people, they'll pay for that because it'll allow them to move faster. So now they have speed because you're going to help them provide, more customization to the workflow to their business. And that's because you have access. So access could be, a coaching call, could be a critique. Both of these things actually apply to speed, right? You can have an award or a label tied to, that level that people are at. So that's why I think people will pay more. Speed, convenience, access, all of those. CJ, even if I niche down, the Sabby says, there is so much gold in this. I will watch all this again. I know you are a little expensive for my appetite today, but wish to work with you guys at some point in the future. Would love to work with you, my friend. Even if I niche down to service as influencer marketing, I don't know how to systemize it. CJ said that. Again, really that falls, we have a process for that, but ultimately what you're going to be doing, CJ, is codifying every step of the way, right? So in order to systematize, you kind of need to unpack the process, right? And so over here you do a few things, then over here you only do one thing or two things. Like, you have to kind of unpack the steps that take them from this problem to this result. And once that's laid out as a blueprint, then we can start looking at where are the opportunities to systematize within that. Now, that's systemizing so again, guys, CJ asked, how do I systematize my process of influencer marketing? Well, you would say, hey, when I get a new client, what do I do? And you chart that process like this. But then there's other things around growing your business that can be systematized, right? There is, people call it the 5 levers. People call it the 5 growth engines. People call it the 5 core functions of a business. But imagine there was a pipe. Imagine this was a pipe, okay? We'll go like this. Guys, forgive my drawing. Again, I'm not a designer. And this flows into here, right? And you would put water into this thing and it would outcome over here, okay? There are 5 core things that we focus on in the business. Let me get a different color. I'll just get black. We have lead gen. Okay, lead gen. We can create systems around lead gen. We can harness automation. We can create process. Then we have lead nurture. Then we have sales. Then we have fulfillment. And who I originally heard the 5 core functions from was a guy by the name of Alex Charfin. So shout out to Alex. He's an awesome dude. Fulfillment. And then you have, just because I can't fit it, retention, resell, and upsell. So likely if your business is stuck, one of these areas is probably the bottleneck, right? So say lead nurture for you is the bottleneck. We would want to unclog this, right? So that the flow can keep coming through. So irregardless of what you guys sell, maybe some of you don't even sell a coaching program, or some of you don't sell or haven't productized your service, you can still systematize different functions of the business by looking at each of these irrespective called departments of the business. The problem is if you sell something, the challenge is if what you sell is unique, right? Every single time, AKA fulfillment. Having a repeatable sales process is going to be hard. Having a systematic sales process is going to be hard. The same goes for nurture and lead gen. This is why the specialization and productization not only benefits your marketing and your sales, but also your fulfillment. Many of you guys have had to hire really expensive contractors to help you in fulfillment that are experts in their own right, and they're very expensive. And some of you might pay those people more than you pay yourself because they need to be good at a lot of things, but they only need to be good at a lot of things because you offer a lot of things. If you focused in on delivering specific things and you created a repeatable process to go through those, you wouldn't need the really expensive jack of all trades that has 10 years of experience. You could probably get the appropriate help much more affordably that leaves more profit in the business because you're putting a person into a repeatable system, not hoping that this person is going to do all of the work and be the system. Two completely different things. So again, hopefully this is super helpful. This is super fun. Dan, my question is really in terms of, and we got 29 people here. Let's get a few hearts up in here. Can you hearts? I don't even know if you can do that. Or likes? Give me some love. Show me something here. Dan says, my question is really in terms of where you get the aforementioned mid to large business as clients. I heard some use LinkedIn, but I am not so sure. Let me share that on the screen so you guys can see it. My question is really in terms of where you get the aforementioned mid to large business. I don't know how you define mid to large, Dan, but I just released a video. Let me grab it actually. Let me grab it and I'll drop it in the comments just because it'll be easier for you to watch this video and then come back to that. So I won't go into the whole thing, but where is it? Oh yeah, it was the video from last week. So my video from last week, I'm dropping in the chat right now, Dan. It was called like client getting activities. There's really 6 ways to get clients, guys. There is paid acquisition, right? Facebook ads, sponsorship, YouTube ads, Google ads. Then there's earned media, right? Which is like doing your YouTube channel, right? I've earned some of your trust and I've captured your attention through me creating content, right? Then there's, I'll call them client referrals. So you have clients that refer people. Then you have strategic partners, like strategic referral partners. So for example, when we were focused on only Infusionsoft people, we spoke with Infusionsoft and said, hey, we can help people that use your tool. How can we collaborate? And they would send people our way. That would be like a strategic referral partner. I would only look for a couple of those people. Then you have outbound. So like reaching out to people, prospecting, cold calling, cold emailing, cold messaging on LinkedIn. Like those are strategies. Now, I think some people do them really horribly, but that's how you would get those clients. So my preference is when you're getting started, I would want to find a pool or a place where those people hang out and then show up and add value. Answering questions, creating content, doing lives like this, sharing what you know. And inviting those that are interested to chat. So here's an example of that. If you guys are liking what I'm talking about right now and would like to work with me and my team to add a new revenue stream that allows you to get paid for your thinking, then visit this URL and schedule a call and we'll chat, right? Like that would be how you would invite someone. Okay, now you need to earn the ability to make asks like that. Like if you just go into a LinkedIn group and of all your ideal prospects and you do the first video and you're like, hey, here's how I can help you. Like that's probably not going to fly over well. So give, ask, as Gary Vee talks about. But my favorite way is to attract people. So I run paid traffic to content like this, where I'm teaching and I'm explaining how we work and why I think it's important for you, and then invite you to a call. And so our calendar fills. Our sales calendar gets full of people that are watching content that has shown them a little bit, and then invited them to chat about how we might be able to help. So you could do the same thing. So that would be the earned media. The owned media would be the last one that I didn't mention, which is in that video, which is like my email list, my Facebook group, this YouTube community. Like, I've earned the media, but I've captured the subscribers, the emails, and I can send messages to those people with offers, right? So you got to earn, like Mary says, you got to earn that trust. So you can do all 6 of those things. You need to get started with one and slowly expand. We're not doing all 6 right now, right? But like, there's 6 ways. I can't really think of another one that's different than one of those 6. So you would do one of those things. Hopefully that helped. Let me hop back up. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see. I'm just trying to, I typed in that link and then it brought me all the way to the bottom. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're back caught up, guys. Ranak, hello. Bit branding, what's going on, guys? Dan, I did not even know this existed. Definitely going there. Didn't know what existed, Dan. Just maybe that video. Is there a way you can elaborate the 5 ones? Yep. So a couple people talk about it, but I learned it from Clay Collins, and this is exactly what he drew on the screen when he explained it. He said the way he focused on it was the fastest way for any business to hit 7 figures is to focus on the 5 ones. And so the 5 ones was to focus on one avatar. So if right now you serve dentists, chiropractors, agencies, life coaches, and you'll basically, your ideal client is anyone with a pulse. That's not avatar. That's not one avatar, right? Like one specific type of person. Okay. Then you sell one and focus on one solution. So not, hey, we're going to bid and do an RFP and I'm going to throw in exactly what I think you need. And then the next RFP is exactly what I think you need. And those 2 things are different. The goal is to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Ideal Prospect, I already know you have this problem and I have the solution. And this is what it looks like. Steps 1 through 9. Not, hey, for you, it's steps 1 through 3. For you, it's 12 steps. For you, it's 40 steps. You've zoned in on the exact process that someone needs. Then we focus on one conversion method. The example of this would be like dialing in a webinar into a sales call, something like that. Then one traffic source. And I was on one of my coaching calls earlier and we were talking about this. One traffic source is like, for me, I focused only on Facebook for the first year. I wrote content on my personal profile, my business page. I created a Facebook group, the one I linked up earlier. I ran Facebook ads. I did not go on LinkedIn. I was not on Instagram outside of personal. I did not have my YouTube channel. I did not have a podcast. I just doubled down on being really good at being on Facebook. So that's what one traffic source is. Now, I think there's an exception to that rule in some cases. I'm not going to go into that today just because I don't think I have the time. And then the real kicker is to do that for 1 year. This is where most people will fail. And so when I heard this, it was January of 2017. Okay. And I've drawn this before. So January 2017, we were kind of somewhere between, I'll say like 30 and 50K a month in doing our agency stuff. And I heard him say that. And then February of 2017, we launched the first version of what is now called Foundations. At that time, it was called Funnels That Scale, FTS. And we started selling it for $2,500. And we launched that in February. By December of 2017, we had made, I forget the exact number, but it was like 103,000 and change selling this program. And we had wound down our agency revenue. I think it was down to like 5K. So we went like this over the course of the year. So we were able to take something that didn't exist in the middle of February and make $100,000 in a month, the month of December, 11 months later. So that's what can happen when you focus on executing and applying the 5 1s. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Do you have any advice and thoughts on starting a training course for others in your field as opposed to a course for your clients? Yes, I actually think it's often, depending upon the market, could be easier. Again, Chris Do is a perfect example, right? He just started teaching other creatives. I call this like and I didn't coin this term and I forget who said it, but like the business inside of a business. It's like, hey, there's other people that want to know what you know. It's kind of our path, right? So we built funnels for course creators. We launched a program, a training course that originally was for course creators. Then we had a lot of people that were not course creators, that were service providers like you guys, asking, how did you make this leap into like generating a lot of revenue and clients? Essentially, how did you productize and use automation to get a funnel? We're like, oh, well, we'll help you get the funnel, because we thought that's what they wanted, the funnel. So then we just said, hey, we're going to take this funnel building thing for course creators and we're going to sell it to agency owners. I've been in agency almost my entire life before going into business for myself. They're my people. I resonate with them better. I can tell more stories about it. So let me serve them. That's when I ran into the first problem. And I then realized I was actually serving myself. My ideal client went from a course creator to a service provider who wanted to evolve into getting paid as an expert, right? Ultimately, I've called it the expert agency. The biggest small agency is another way I look at this. And that's totally a market. Again, you have to see if that's who your ideal client might be. But I personally, again, this is not, it can go either way. But for me personally, I find so much enjoyment in helping other people that are like me because I can just really resonate with them, right? So there's a different level of fulfillment when you start serving, when you become your best client, which I think is what you're actually saying there. Clarity business design. I don't know if I showed this question, but that's what the question was. All right. Kyle, awesome. Sounds like you got a lot of experience that can be packaged up. I think a couple folks from my couple clients here said, reach out. Kyle said something interesting. And guys, we're already over an hour, so thanks for hanging with me. I'll keep going until I get through all these questions. Kyle said, I don't really feel like that the pond I'm currently swimming in is where I want to fish on the side. I feel I need to spend more time finding pain points from other industries. Yeah, you might have to. Some clients end up pivoting the market that they serve. That's totally fine. I think that's common. Will it take a little bit more time? Probably, but usually the things that are harder and take a little bit more time are more worth it in the long run. So if you can do that on the side, totally. I launched all of my businesses on the side. Like my first business that allowed me to go full time for myself was started while I had a full-time job. Let's see. Robin, hey, we did it and built a 90-day program with more profit. Big thanks to Greg and Lisa. Yes. Dude, Robin is a rock star. Robin Larson, my friends. Literally talk about someone who comes in, follows the game plan, implements. One of the best, for sure. One of the best. Salima says, how long does it take in your experience? How long does it take to go through different stages of business, starting to scaling? Oh, man. I mean, it depends. And it depends on what you mean by scaling, too. I think right now a lot of people talk about scale like it's like a destination. And it's not. Like, it's just, you need to be scalable to grow very profitably, like exponentially, right? I think growth and scale are different. I mean, well, they technically, by definition, are different. Commonly, if you look at growth as defined in business terms, usually your revenue will grow, but so will your expenses, like equally. So your margin remains relatively the same. When you're growing, that doesn't mean you can necessarily support like an influx of new clients on demand. But if you're more scalable, you might actually be able to. And so scalability is the ability to handle an influx of demand on either the fulfillment side or the lead side. And so the business structure is usually impacted. That's why many people that we focus on, agency owners, freelancers, service providers, they can't physically hit their financial and profit and income goals because their business model and economics won't support it. So you can raise your done for you rates. And this is what I actually find super fascinating. For those of you that came from hearing about Chris Do, that know about Blair Enns and David C. Baker, I consume a lot of their content as well. Books, everything, like really great stuff. They come from traditional agency too. And I forget which one of them said this, but like traditional boutique agency is often you have 10 to 20 clients that you serve annually. And those contracts are north of hopefully $50,000 to $100,000 a year, right? And so you only have 10 to 20 clients, but they all pay top dollar. But what's super crazy is that not everyone can get those types of clients, but they still operate. They operate with the same goal of only having 10 to 20 clients, but then they charge $2,000 a month. And so they have so much work with not enough income to support it and no bandwidth to serve more. And they end up in this weird issue. That's all business economics, positioning, business model. Like, it's not like you learning how to become a better web designer isn't going to make that problem go away. It's learning how to be a business owner and acquire business skills and restructure how you do business. It's the classic E-Myth story, the book, The E-Myth. Just because you're a technician and you have a technical business, implementation, design, like, you have to remove yourself or find someone else that's going to be the business owner and acquire those skills. Like, because you're not going to grow the business being the technician, if that makes sense. So how long does it take? Again, I don't really know how to answer that outside of, I'll say, if you join a group like Entrepreneurs Organization, they have a program for, it's like local chapters. I was in it for a little while, where if you're between $250,000 a year and $1 million, it's a 3-year program, because they say statistically, if you're going to get to $1 million, it's probably going to take you, it takes most businesses 3 years. I think the internet and the rise of consulting and info products courses has really shortened the gap for that and what's possible. But I mean, if you're trying to get to $1 million a year, I mean, only 3 to 4% of all businesses in the United States ever actually do that. So like, there's that, and roughly 3 years. I launched what is now Foundations, our flagship program, February of 2017, and we did our first $1 million a year this year. So the end of 3 years. So kind of on that path. Boom, boom, boom. CJ, I'd love to apply for an internship from India, and I'm a graphic designer and marketing strategist and have 3 years of experience. I'm 19, so I have that young blood rolling. Where do I connect? Hey, can you just shoot me an email, greg@altagency.com. We'll jam. Dan, yep, thanks, Brian. Joe says, you sound like you've described me perfectly. I specialize in WordPress development and work with B2B clients as well as consulting with other agencies, which is my most predictable revenue stream. Then he went on to say, the problem is I hit this wall where I run out of time. I do use one other consultant for some of my projects, but I do most of the work myself. And he goes on and says, I've recently started thinking about selling a package that includes reselling, hosting, as well as monthly website management and support. What are your thoughts on all of this? I think it's a great step in the right direction, at least the way that you're thinking about it. I think we want to work on your positioning and make it more valuable, just because there's a lot of like web hosting management solutions that you'd be competing against. So I think it is going to come down more to positioning than anything. I want to share a quick story for you guys based on what Joe just shared. So we have a client, Christopher, and he designs websites for churches. I don't know if he's on here. Had designed website for churches, and he was kind of said the same thing, Joe. Like, I have this contractor that helps me, but then like that means less money for me, and I find that we as service providers, we can easily offload stuff, but when we have to pay someone to offload it, which means we make less, we're like, is it worth me handing it off? Like, I could probably do it better. And you're like, is that person really worth, $50 an hour? Here's the ironic thing about when people say stuff like that. What do you charge an hour? When I asked Christopher, he was like $150 an hour. And I was like, okay, so you're already paying someone $150 an hour to work on it. So if you can pay someone else $50 and you can go use that hour to go make more than $150, it is worth you doing that. And so it's funny, like people are like, I'm worth 150, but I can't pay this guy 50. Well, it's like, if you can't pay him 50, how are you paying yourself 150? Like, you're already paying more than what you're willing to pay. So like, get over it. The problem here, guys, is that if Christopher charges 150 an hour and he can offload that work for 50 an hour, that's a smart move if and only if he utilizes that hour on activities that are worth more than $150. So if he goes on one extra sales call that week and he can close a $4,000 deal, well worth the time, right? So you can't just say, hey, I'm going to pay this guy 50 and then do nothing, because you need to replace that with activities that are worth more than what you currently were charging. That's where it becomes profitable. Let's see. Jason Jones says, Foundations was a tremendous help. I went from doing everything for everyone to packaging my branding service into one offering, which can now be repurposed for workshops, digital courses, etc. I love it, Jason. I'm super pumped. I love seeing all your traveling photos too. Dan, Brian, thank you for being open to sharing your experience. Salima, physical versus digital service product biz. I'm not sure what that question is. Brent says, what's your offer, Greg? Hopefully you kind of got that at this point, but most of our clients start in our Foundations program. It's a 90-day program focused on a few things. One, getting clear on what it is you sell, how you position that in the market, and how you package it so it can be delivered with leverage. 2, setting up minimum viable sales automation and onboarding automation to onboard new clients for said thing that we would just create, and then having you go get 3 to 10 paying clients for a pilot or a beta experience selling the thing that I mentioned first. And we do that in 90 days. That's the offer. And then from there, if you want that to make more money every year than your current services, we would work on that in a secondary program called Academy. You're welcome, Mary. Brent, I think I just answered that question on what package you were selling. CJ, you're welcome. Guys, super pumped that you guys are liking this. Salima, let's see. What are the most important things to include in an offer to make it irresistible and valuable? Mistakes people make when creating offers. Guys, I made this mistake too. I think you need to focus on the problem, not the solution. So what I mean by that is, like, some of you guys are like, I love WordPress, or like, I love this sort of design or whatever. And like, you try to sell that, and nobody cares about that. They care about the problem that they have and you solving that problem. Now, if your love for WordPress or a particular type of design or whatever solves their problem, great. You need to position your solution or your offering as a solution to a high value problem that your prospect has. And so if you're marketing to the symptoms and the problems that they have, you're going to focus on those, and your solution can actually get them to the other side. It's going to look irresistible to the right person. So I know it was high level, but it really should be kind of that simple. Salima says, how quickly should you add more offerings? It depends on where you're at, how much revenue, what your team looks like, what your current situation looks like. Tom, you're welcome. Thank you. So if you're just packaging up your service, do you test on one-on-one or go all in on group first go around? Great question, Melissa. Again, it depends on what sort of experience you're coming to us with. For example, Chris Bayless, who's in the room or was in the room earlier, or if this is a room watching, he had delivered his offering one-on-one like hundreds of times. So for him to make the leap from one-on-one to one-to-many in a group was like a layup. But we have some people that come through and they actually have to take a couple people through one-on-one first to iron out some of the kinks, because they went from offering a whole lot to something specific, delivered that a couple times to one-on-one before then going to group. So it kind of depends on how many times you've actually worked through this process. We've had some clients that literally have done it in their head for years. They just never got it on paper. So it can kind of depend. Sabby, there is so much gold in this. I'll watch again. Thank you so much. Please reshare. I hope we work together too. Just schedule a call to chat with us, altagency.com/book. You can chat with my team, and would be happy to see if we're able to help. Guys, you're welcome. Just reading through some of these questions, guys, and drinking some water. Yes, Abby, I can totally imagine if you help people with YouTube and they start getting subscribers and comments, engagement like this, that it's totally fulfilling. Totally. Duke says, I run an SEO agency and want to bring on a 1099 salesman. In your experience, do these kinds of salesmen work well, or does there need to be a base salary? It really depends on a handful of variables. Are they doing outbound? Is this inbound? What do you kind of expect of them? Salima, which one is better, physical product versus digital product versus service or biz? I don't think any one is better than the other. It kind of depends on what meets your goals. CJ, Oh man, can you summarize your life journey in 60 seconds? I'll try. I don't think it'll be 60 seconds, but I will keep it brief. Uh, Horrible in high school, like C plus student. Got to college, was allowed to focus on business and choose the courses that I took, excelled. Um, Started working in an ad agency representing Pepsi and Unilever on the project management side, upgraded to account side, working with the clients. Then went to a boutique agency, worked with professional sports teams, New York Jets, Florida Marlins, AT&T. Then went to a startup on the sales side. Then went to a media company, which is really just an agency, media agency. Started my business on the side, actually right before that company. Then I ended up client side, working for head of mobile marketing for an outdoor retail brand called Cabela's. Built out their mobile strategy, mobile team, mobile website, app, text message marketing strategy, mobile couponing, and built up a small team dedicated to mobile marketing. And then I took the leap full time into into working for myself, which, by the way, started off in mobile marketing, which was 10 years of my background, not in what I'm doing right now. That was 2014. From 2014 to the middle of 2015, I was doing something completely different. 2015 is when I started doing automation and funnels. 2017 is when I launched the group program to now. Nick, just set up some Zaps for onboarding clients. No more custom emails and manually set up Google drivers, all part of productizing my service. Amen. Salima, thank you for doing this Q&A. Have a great rest of your day. You too. Sabby, definitely touch base with Mike. Mike's on our team. Happy to share any examples. Duke, outbound. We don't currently do outbound, but from what, again, it's going to come down to opportunity volume. So you need to understand what their on-track earnings are going to be, like what do they want to earn. And in the beginning, you might have to start base plus commission, unless you have enough volume for them to hit their on-track earnings through just commissions. From what I've seen and heard, again, it can go any way that you really want it to be, depending upon the person's experience. But with outbound, you're probably going to have some sort of base plus commission, I've seen. Again, that doesn't mean it has to be that way. Salima, where can we review details about your current offerings? Salima, just visit this URL and you'll chat with our team. We can explain and look at your situation, see what you're currently doing, and share exactly how everything works and which of our two programs work for you. There's a little bit on our website. In the navigation, it'll say programs, and you can look at both Foundations and Academy. There's a little brief write-up, but if you want to make sure that it applies to you and you actually have some clarity and a plan, just schedule a call and we're happy to chat with you. That would be the fastest way. Chat to a human so it can be customized to you. CJ, getting into entrepreneurship, and I'm only 19. Should I gain more experience? I feel I have enough value to provide, but man, I am intimidated by your experience. Dude, if I was getting into entrepreneurship when I was 19, I would have been stoked. So I think the sooner the better. Don't be intimidated. Just get around the people that are ahead of you. It's the fastest way to move forward. All right, guys, that's all the questions. And we've been at this for almost 90 minutes. So I'm going to call it. Guys, thank you so much. Super pumped. This is really my first live, and you guys brought it. Really appreciate it. Duke, you're welcome. I appreciate that very much, Duke. Yeah, just want to help. So I'm going to try to do this more regularly. I'll kind of put out announcements like this. If you guys keep coming with questions, I'll keep coming and jamming and drawing on the iPad. But love and appreciate you guys all. Thank you so much for your support in all shapes and sizes of how you've done that, from subscribing to being here for 90 minutes to asking questions to being focused on how to improve, right? This stuff's hard. Seeking help. Kudos to you guys for that, and much love and respect to each and every one of you. For those of you that are celebrating, have a happy, healthy, and fun New Year's Eve and New Year's. Let's rock 2021. Super pumped for all the things that are possible for each and every one of you. Jason, have a good one too, my man. Happy holidays. And we will chat soon, guys. Take it easy. Peace.